Welcome to Be a Fountain, Not a Drain, the podcast that delves into the art and science of harnessing your subconscious energy to create a more positive life and a positive world. I'm your host, Charlotte Mather, and I'm here to guide you on a transformative journey towards conscious living. Each week, we dive deep into conversations with amazing guests who've mastered the art of conscious living. We explore their insights, experiences, and top tips for living a life that has a positive impact to create a ripple effect, transforming not only our lives, but the world we live in. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Get ready to dive deep, expand your consciousness, and make a splash. This is Be a Fountain, Not a Drain. Let's begin. Welcome to Be a Fountain, Not a Drain. This is episode 1. I'm your host, Charlotte Mather, and I'm so excited to be launching this podcast today on the 8th of the 8th, and it should be 8 p.m. Although as you get to know me, you'll realise that I'm not great with time. Just try to set my alarm on my calculator on my phone. So anyway, enough about me. You've heard about me in the intro episode, hopefully, episode 0. If you haven't listened to that, then go and have a listen to me ramble on for about 6.5 minutes about pretty much nothing. And today, hopefully, will be a much more intellectual, insightful, exciting conversation with my beautiful guest, Emma Bushell. Emma is an internationally recognised channeler and a spiritual mentor, and we're going to explain a little bit about what that is in the episode if you're not sure. Emma has a divine purpose of providing guidance, clarity and insights to those of us that are seeking a deeper understanding of existence and purpose. So very, very exciting. Welcome, Emma.
Oh, what a great introduction on this very first episode. I am absolutely thrilled to be here.
Oh,
Thank
it's
you.
great to have you. We've been very excited, haven't we? Just talking in, let's call it the green room before we recorded about today's episode.
Yeah, it's been great. So I'm excited. I'm thrilled to be here to be grilled by you.
No grilling. There will be no relax. Have a cup of tea. We're just having a chat. We're just having a chat over a cuppa. Nothing too serious yet. And so, what I'd love, Emma, is if you can explain sort of the concept of channeling and what you do. I know I did that introduction, but you explain to the listeners in your own words, like what is it that you do and what does that mean?
Okay, so channeling. Channeling is a very broad topic, and it's an umbrella for so many things that are spiritual for people. And a lot of people don't understand what channeling actually is. They've never probably heard of it. And they're more inclined to think about connection with spirit. And that is right in the sense of connecting with spirit of some form. However, channeling sits very differently once you become deeper in your understanding and your relationship with spirit itself. Now, some people have this gift naturally from being born. We are all channelers, every single one of us, every human being on earth, on this planet, in this room, is a channel. It's just that we've lost the ability to remember it and understand it and work with it as our own innate gift that we hold within us. So, the understanding of being a channel is where you are able to talk to, with, and through your physical body by your voice, higher realms of spirit.
Amazing. It sounds amazing to as someone that's still fairly early on in their spiritual journey. I'm always saying things like, I wish I was psychic. Oh, I wish I could do the things other people could do. Oh, I wish that I could talk to spirit, or I see signs, 1111 or a feather. And I think, oh, that's spirit. And then I'm like, oh, is it though? Or is it just a number? Or is it just a feather? And my analytical mind kicks in. Even though, I work with the subconscious, my analytical mind is so strong and it interferes all the time, and it kicks in and it says, oh, is it just a coincidence though? Is it this? And you're not psychic and you don't have those gifts. And maybe the other people around you, they don't either. And, none of it's real, and all that doubt comes in. But as being very early on in my spiritual journey, I'm very keen on connecting more. So this is like an exciting conversation for me.
Yeah, and also you have external validation from the media, the press, people's opinions, the way it's written about being connected with spirit. We have such a negative strike on our own gifts of, say, channeling or connecting to spirit, that we have that reinforced all of the time. So we couldn't possibly be really doing any of this. So we then have that validated on top of all of those things that you just said about skepticism, second guessing, doubting, is it real? And that then dims all of that beautiful loveliness that we all hold within us down to zero. And then it either comes out, so for example, people talk about awakenings. It either comes out more so through an event or a trauma or someone's death or something happened to you, or it can just be a natural awakening because your reality that you see every morning changes on some level. And then you start to question what we're doing. What's it all about? The deeper questions, particularly with our own global experience of the recent years of COVID, so many seekers have been seeking more purpose, explanation, reason, resonance for what is actually going on. Their perspective has changed.
Absolutely. I mean, COVID was I think, a massive shift for the entire planet. And there's different theories around how COVID. I won't get into that, but for me
No.
personally, I started my hypnotherapy business. I started training before COVID. I was already looking for something in a corporate job, something more, some purposeful meaning to my life rather than making money for a huge corporation, and making money for myself. And I wanted to do more, and I've discovered hypnotherapy, and it was the pandemic that pushed me to leave corporate and say, actually, I love doing this. Why am I half arsing it, one foot in, one foot out, struggling to do both? I need to go all in. And I've had a similar experience with hypnosis, that in I've looked into the media portrayal of it. Every film with hypnosis, it's evil, it's mind control, it's harmful, and it's a similar scenario, isn't it? And so going into that healing space, or that that spiritual space, there is a lot of obstacles we have to overcome.
Yeah, and I think it's also the fact that, let's put it like this, let's raise our imaginations here on this podcast. For example, if we all became channelers and let's say we are open minded to receive wisdom and knowledge from higher realms, for example, firstly, our perception of things changes, our reality changes to be open to that. The knowledge we receive is so advanced. I'm talking about higher intelligence. I'm talking about channels of communication that is otherworldly. They are so advanced that if we were all becoming channelers and recognizing and remembering our innate gifts that we all hold, every single human on this planet, then there wouldn't really be a government. There wouldn't really be all the schoolings, the systems, the procedures, the, you wouldn't really have the constructs of the systems that we hold on Earth, because we're all able to really raise the game to become a different level of being.
And is that a positive thing? Because when I think about having no government, no school, no system, I'm like, yes, like burn it all down. It's broken as. So I'm like, that's a positive thing. Is it? Do you think?
I think because we're talking about evolution here, we're talking about the gradual um, recognition and raising of our own reality or consciousness, I call it. Um, there will be people that will want to do this, and there will be people that won't want to do this, because not everybody is ready for that journey in this lifetime.
Yeah, and we see that, and I think more and more. I didn't have a spiritual practice, wasn't very spiritual, and that's changed over maybe the past 10 years. And then I felt quite lonely in that. That not all of my friends were talking about simple things like crystals, meditation, and now everybody's talking about it. And my husband asked me, how do you meditate? He's interested, and that's a shift, and the people around me have changed and evolved. So I see that you mentioned that evolution, and it's quite visible, but I suppose it can't be an overnight thing. That's too huge, isn't it? It's too huge of a change.
Yeah, but I think also where we've come, or hopefully coming out of the cycle of the huge shift of the of COVID pandemic, that there has been a recognised shift of people becoming very embittered, without compassion so much now. And I've recognised that you've probably recognised the service of industries has completely changed to show the gaps within the systems that we are living in. And the compassion within that is much needed now for people to recognise that if they feel the call to want to explore their gifts and be of service, like yourself, like myself, in their industry, and want to open up to this world of difference, because it's not different really to you. If you think about it, it's never different because it feels so at home. Then we raise, in a positive sense, the awareness to be able to raise the consciousness with compassion for other people. If we collectively do this, and we are doing ourselves a disservice for not actually speaking up and being seen to be practicing spiritually or learning, just being curious.
Oh, I that's yeah, that's really hit home with me, that not speaking up. And I talk about being in the spiritual closet, and I don't talk about my spiritual journey very much on Facebook, because it's my business. My business is there, and I've got this professional front, and I don't want anyone to cart me off to the loony bin. That's what I always say. So I talk about it in private and with certain people and not others, and things like that. And that you really hit home with that statement, that we're doing ourselves and the world a disservice, I suppose.
We're disservice because we're in denial, because we keep everything separate, because it's not seen to be, you're judged, you're banished with certain families, going against religion, you're in sufferance because you can't speak up, because you may have been in a culture that doesn't allow you to. There's so many things that, if you expand your consciousness or your awareness with your own gifts, And I'm talking, I call them clairs or clears, I call them to my memberships and people that are in my world. Your clears that you are given, whether it's in sight, whether it's in hearing, whether it's in your dreams, whether it's in your taste, whether it's in music, whether it's in just words that people speak, and being in the energy of other people. We have this ability to read situations. We have the ability to read people before we even know what that means. And then you go into this, oh, I've judged that person, but I just knew that they weren't X, Y, and Z, because it's a knowing that you hold already.
And so a bit like we talk about gut instinct, don't we? We talk about that feeling, and they say, "What is it? You make someone makes an impression on you in the first 7 seconds. Like it's fast, and I think
Yeah,
it's probably faster than 7 seconds. To be honest, it's probably
yeah,
7 seconds for the conscious analytical part of the mind and to catch up. But like you
yeah,
say, we've already got that knowing that
yeah,
this isn't someone I'm aligned with, or this isn't a situation I'm comfortable with, or
yeah, yeah. But we dim it down because it's become a construct of our reality. Like, for example, the job you go to, the school you send your kids to, the people at the school gate, the I don't know, getting on trains that are packed. We're going into concerts with lots of people, airports, all sorts of energized situations that we read innately that we have forgotten. A large majority of people have forgotten how to actually use the intuition they have and act on it for their highest, better good, their better purpose with themselves first. Because we've all made decisions knowingly that it wasn't really right.
yes. Oh, yes. Probably only
Come
yesterday.
on, we can divulge, but we've all made these decisions that you knew you shouldn't have gone down that road for whatever reason, big or little.
Yes, yes, and I come across this a lot with my trauma clients. That I mean, one particular pattern I see a lot of is the arsehole magnet. I call them, and they're an arsehole magnet. They go, I don't know why I'm attracting these arseholes. Everyone's an arsehole that I attract, and I say you're attracted to them too. Oh no, no, no! I don't want someone that's an arsehole. You do, because there's a trauma in your past that tells you either that's familiar or that's all you deserve, or
Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah,
having some impact on the needs that you've got, and you're attracting them but you're attracted to them as well, and we need to break that cycle. So
yeah.
similar thing
And
with
that is it. It's breaking the cycle of um, a belief system. For example, you talked about not good enough, which sits very heavily in our soul. um, and with my modality that I have really mastered, in the sense of my sacred heart work that I do with people, is that we live in our heads and not in our hearts. And this really affects your channeling and how you receive the information you want to or wish to receive. So, for example, you talked about not good enough in a trauma response. And when you do energy work, like hypnosis, like energy clearance, like I do through the heart, you find that sitting within all of that is a clearance of energy that you need to get rid of and clear, and you find that your channel or your gifts magnify beyond belief.
so the healing work is really quite critical to the connection work then. I guess that's what you're
Yeah,
saying.
yeah, particularly my Sacred Heart healing is particularly about generational lineage. It's about ancestral lineage. It's about maybe your mum, your daughter. You may have that within your family now, or your sister, or your mum, or your grandmother, and there is a pattern that formulates through their lives, and then it's come into your life and you break that cycle through the type of work we're talking about, energy work. And this just explodes your ability to connect more and more with yourself and more with spirit.
And what are the other benefits of connecting to spirit? Because we know the benefits of healing and working through our traumas and things like that, at a kind of human level, for
Yeah.
our physical and our mental well-being. What about that? What are the benefits of doing that work to connect to spirit?
So many people are looking outside of themselves for the answers. Okay. We all do as human beings. That's part of our default, actually. So we're almost working against ourselves, which this isn't for everybody, but so many people come to me because they want to meet their dad or their mum that's passed, or they want to connect with their angels or their spirit guides. Is it really real? They haven't been able to do it, so it's not that stuff. Um, but there is a massive drive in people to want to be able to do that because of a reason that is that is greater than the fear. The passion is greater than the fear to connect spirit. So, for example, let me take an example of like meeting your mum who's passed away. You've had an amazing relationship. You really want to feel her presence, and you wish to have that desire to connect with your mum. Now, that's when you start the journey, and spirit's benefit of that is guidance, belonging, revisiting something, i.e., knowledge or a closure, maybe, or a piece of information that will really help someone move forward in their life. We're talking about mediumship here. Or if we're talking about spirit generally, it's more about that feeling of when you said earlier in this podcast about feeling lonely and isolated with your own journey of spiritualism. You were looking for answers. The guidance system that comes with spiritual connection is beyond everything, and you are never ever alone in it when you have your connections.
And I
Um,
think that is something that loneliness is on the rise, isn't it? And so
yeah,
to be able to even just rid ourselves of that feeling of loneliness and isolation and almost kind of that lack of purpose that a lot of people can feel, especially when things are going off in the world that are completely out of our control, or it feels like they're completely out of our control. Pandemics, wars, economic crises, apparently,
yeah,
so
yeah,
it can feel lonely, can't it?
yeah, and it's a really good compass system for your life, and also the purpose of your life with the steps that you wish to take. You can get that guidance. You can get those next steps. They can be shown to you and actually bring joy, the joy of spirit, because it's not all scary and evil like we're told, which is why we don't connect, because there's this massive fear about all of the things to do with, I don't know, you then go into the witchcraft and all that rubbish. But actually, the joy of seeing the signs from your spirit team, the joys that they bring forward for you to actually get those very personal signs to you, and you find your way with that, with your relationship with spirit, because it is a relationship. It's just the signs are very different because they're not thought out the same as a human mind. They just drop in. So, for example, I was coming here today and I asked for a sign yesterday about our podcast. And this is very, very true. I had a kestrel. My spirit signs are birds. I had a kestrel appear on my chimney stack right outside my bedroom window. I asked for a bird. And all the way through here, I was behind a lorry that had owl eyes right in front of my car.
And so my spirit
You know?
animals birds as well. My sign's birds. That's interesting. And so what would you say though? I'm going to be controversial here. What would you say to people? Go, that's just a coincidence.
Yeah, because that's keeping you safe. Why would you want to explore the joy of spirit? Why would you want to be adventurous with your mind? Why would you want to believe in something you're really not feeling very comfortable with? Because it challenges your beliefs of it. When it's happening over and over again, and the unfulfillment, the looking for purpose, the clear signs you're actually getting but missing because you're not believing them, you're dismissing them, they will always knock louder on your door.
Oh yes, I've experienced that definitely, especially recently. It's like, oh no, it's just a coincidence. It's a coincidence, and then it's like, bang! You can't deny this anymore, Charlotte Mother. So and also, I guess you mentioned they're asking as well. So I've sat in my garden, and I know that one of my spiritual team is my granddad that passed because several, and not just one or two, tens of psychics have told me and described my granddad without ever knowing him, and it's always my granddad. And that's the information that's come through. And so I'll sit in my garden and I'll say, "Oh, granddad, if you're around, bring me a robin." And this robin will fly down and sit on the table. I say, "Thank you, granddad." So yeah, someone could come along and go, "Oh, it's just a coincidence." It's happened several times. It's a pretty strong coincidence. And to your point, I love your point. I could sit there and go, it's just a coincidence. And all my belief, that hope, that love, that connection will just fall in the bin. Or I can choose to believe that my granddad sent me that robin because he loves me. And that's more of a higher vibrational feeling of love and connection. So I know what I'd rather choose to believe. So I think that's a really good point.
Yeah, and it's that you can take this to whatever level you want to by expanding your knowledge, because as you feed from the breadcrumbs that you are asking for, because they come in such beautiful ways as well. They really do, like the beautifulness of that story you just said. But if you really want to expand your channeling in this instance, where I connect to higher realms of consciousness, and I'm talking about galactic beings, I'm talking about Arcturians, Pleiades, Lyrians, all star seeds of constellations. As much as I talk to spirit guides and angels, your adventure is endless, and your purpose to receive these signs is open to every single person on this planet that chooses to live in a higher vibration of receiving that beautiful love and gift. It's a gift. Life is a gift.
Yeah, and I think people might be sat listening thinking life doesn't feel like a gift, but the point you made there is there's a choice of how we feel in a moment, isn't it? I used to be very glass half full, quite negative, not not totally. I tried, bit angry, and when I decided to just change how I chose to be, everything in my life began to change and the people around me changed, and it was like my whole reality shifted because I'd made a choice that I wanted to see the glass as half full, in fact overflowing. I want the glass to be overflowing onto the table and beyond, and that's that partly why I created this podcast. I dreamt this podcast, actually talking about channeling through dreams, things like this. Podcast came to me in a dream, the name of it and everything, and people have said don't use that as a name because of XYZ strategy, and I'm like, no, I have to go with this. And that that encompasses my view. You can be a drain and go around feeling negative and draining energy from yourself, the world around you, or you can be a fountain, and it's a choice.
It is a choice, but I want to say this quite bluntly, really. When you change by choice of your environment, it won't fit the same. So you make your choices, and the hardest part of this is stepping outside of what all you know to change into something that you know you have to. Actually, it's a burning, it's a desire. You can't stop it anymore. It's like that fountain of your heart just cannot hold it down anymore. It's too much in there. It's almost like you can't stop the feeling. You just have to be it. And the fallout will be the fallout because there will always be a fallout with the choice. And we run from that rather than embrace it because it's scary, might seem too overwhelming. You couldn't possibly change anything in your life, but you'll find that new rhythm and that new river of flow will happen as it's meant to be. But there is always that risk, which is why people stay stuck.
Yeah, I think what you're describing to me sounds very much like that burning need to change is like a calling. Like there's
It
a
really is.
calling that happens and you can't ignore a calling.
Yeah, a bit like we were thrown into disarray with COVID. We were forced almost to change everything, which was upsetting. And so many people on so many different stories and levels. But yet we chose that path of discomfort to go through something to come out the other side of it, either a better person, again, a choice, or staying in this negative spiral of uncompassion, I call it, which is where we sit in this really nicely, where you can connect with your channeling, your own source of guidance. You're your instrument, your choice, your decisions, your life, and your team that is around you, if you choose it, fundamentally keeps you on that purposeful line. And that for me, I think is yours. It's yours. It's yours already. You have it already in you.
And that's just such a beautiful concept, and you said it so beautifully as well. I feel moved. I feel moved. And what would you say to people that are listening that this is quite a new concept too, that want to start connecting, learning how to channel, learning how to connect and find, what are their gifts? What would you say to someone at the very start of their journey, Emma?
I would just say that I've been there. I was the biggest natural. I saw spirit from a very young child, so I was always with spirit. But then it was taken away from me from other people's beliefs in my immediate family. So I've had it taken because I chose to, because I was a child. If you have a calling, or if you have already have the ability to connect, or know that there are things around you that you don't understand, it's all new, or it's been around you but you've not been actually recognizing and really embracing it, really, then that acknowledgement is the first step. That, because that is very, very powerful, but never overlook it. Never overlook that first point of connection. Your choice then is whether you want to just be with other people that have all of that, and you're in that energy of other people having the same things, but very different ways of connecting, because we all connect differently. We are never the same as anybody else. So being with everybody else just gives our learning and our expansion of our reality, which is amazing. The recognition from the right people, if you need that external validation to say you're not crazy, because that's what people say. It's all bullshit. It's crazy. What the hell is all that about? You
Yeah,
need
and
to
it's
go
just
and
nice to find some
lie down.
people that see it the same way, isn't it? It's just nice
Yeah,
to find some people that don't say that say, "Oh, yeah, that's
yeah,
great. I do that too," or "I've
yeah.
experienced that." Yeah,
And then if you want to then go further, I hold memberships for people in my energetic space, learnings, teachings. I read people's energy. I'm able to see where you may be holding the disconnection from spirit and overcoming that disconnection with spirit. And you can get to learn how to do that too. So you can go and do it yourself when you're not in my space or with other people. And then recently I've written a course, which is an academy. And that is about you really going for it and dipping your toe in the energy of expansion, of bettering your person, filling your cup, overflowing the fountain of all of the things we talked about that are so positive. And you can work through it in your own pace. It's a 3 month. It's ideally it's a 3 month window with complete support with other people, with myself, and it is magical because some people just have never really embraced it, but are so wanting to now.
yes, yeah, and that sounds like a fantastic place to start as well, because like you said, it's acknowledging ourselves and then finding your tribe, finding other people, and so those sorts of containers, those sorts of coming into your world, for instance, has opened my eyes massively. And so I recommend anyone listening that's interested in any small part, large part, if you're already on the journey, if you're at the very beginning, follow Emma. I'm going to put all the links into the podcast episode description so that you can follow Emma and see what she's got to say, because we've just touched the tip of the iceberg, just on the surface of with this conversation. And I know that you do activations and you give a lot to your audience as well through your
Yeah,
gifts. So
yeah. I mean, I feel very strongly about giving value when I do anything. I've got trainings I've got a Facebook group which is free called Channel with Spirit. I've got free trainings in there. You can really immerse yourself in so many ways. You can be an observer, you can be very active. Um, you can come in and really feel the calling to be purposeful with spirit in your life, like you are, Charlotte, and with so many people, which is much needed. Then I do mentorship, which is more really pulling out your gifts and offering it to the world for a better place to live in, actually, in humanity. That's what it's about.
then that's exactly what this podcast is about, and that's why you were such a perfect guest for episode 1. Like just perfect. When we connected, and I went and had a little snoop and a little stalk like you do, and I was like, this is just going to be brilliant. This is going to be mind blowing. And you were going to be wrapping up this episode in a moment, but there is lots more to come through this podcast. So it is all about being a fountain in the world, not a drain. We're talking energetics, spirituality. We're going to throw some science in there because I'm still a bit of a geek at heart. We'll be looking at how we can adapt our physical bodies, our psychological world, our spiritual health, and things like that. So lots coming up. But final few words just to kind of summarize, Emma. I really want people to go and check out what you do and follow you, give you lots of love on social media. So I'll pop all the links there for everyone. But have you got just any final words to the listeners today's episode?
I just think the fact that the awareness level that you're at is your first start of your journey, or you're maybe an advanced spiritual person, but aren't using your gifts. They are not seen. I see so many people that hold so much secret. So many of you are keeping yourselves secret for fear of whatever. The passion and the purpose is greater than the fear, always. And that's what I want to say, because you matter and you're here for a purpose in life.
Yes, I love that. I love that. And people will find that when you open up and share, more people will open up and share, and it won't feel as lonely, and it won't feel as like we're different. People will start to open up, and I've found that in my experience. The more I talk about it, the more other people do, and I think, I never knew that about you. I never knew that you had this gift or you had this practice, and then you don't feel so lonely, because we're not meant to be alone and lonely, are we?
No, and actually, we are very powerful people as a collective, and raising your vibration with everybody else in this energy. The wonder continues on that level, because that's what we need most in the world, is this level of consciousness to raise the energy that we all live in.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And I always say it's all about energy. Everything is all about energy. The world's very quickly catching on to that. We talk about it a lot more and more. When I was a child, we never spoke about energy except what was in the batteries or came out the plug socket or on the bill at the end of the month. Now we talk about that. So yeah, it's all energy, and how you choose to use your energy is a choice, and it's up to you. So final words from me are: choose to be a fountain, not a drain. And thank you for everybody tuning in and listening. Thank you so much to Emma for an amazing
You're so
conversation. And I'd
so
love to have you back so we can go even deeper with this. And if
Yeah.
anybody has any questions for Emma, then let us know via the links in the description. And yeah, just go and explore your own spiritual connection. Embrace the powers that you have, the gifts that you have, whatever they might be. And please subscribe, rate, review the podcast. Anything you can to support the podcast would be fantastic. So thank you very much, Emma.
Oh, it's a true pleasure. And thank you everyone for listening. I'll see you soon.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. It's been amazing, and I'll be back soon with a brand new episode. And that's a wrap, my incredible fountain friends. Thank you so much for joining me on this uplifting journey of positivity and conscious living. I really hope you found inspiration, insights, and some practical tools to make a positive impact in your life and the world around you. If you enjoyed this episode and you want to continue spreading the ripple of positivity, be sure to subscribe to Be a Fountain, Not a Drain on your favourite podcast platform. I'd love to hear from you. Share any thoughts, experiences, suggestions on our website and our social media channels. Let's just keep the conversation going and support each other on this journey of growth and self-discovery. If you know someone else who could use a dose of positivity in their life, share this podcast with them too. And together we can create a ripple effect that touches countless lives. And remember, being a fountain isn't a one-time act, it's a way of living. Embrace every opportunity to spread positivity and make a difference. So stay tuned for more amazing episodes filled with inspiration, thought-provoking conversations, and transformational experiences. Shine bright, my fountains!